Have you ever wondered why someone can normally follow their routine for years and then suddenly be told their kidneys are failing? Why swelling fatigue or frequent nighttime urination seems to appear out of nowhere? Especially after 60, I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and I want you to hear this clearly. Kidney failure in older adults almost never starts suddenly. It starts quietly and visibly, and most often, at the dinner table. Here's the urgent truth most Americans never hear until it's too late. By the time kidney symptoms become obvious, more than 50% of kidney function may already be gone. And unlike blood pressure or blood sugar, you don't feel your kidneys declining day by day. They don't scream, they whisper. And those whispers are easy to miss while real damage is already happening. What makes this even more dangerous is that many of the foods accelerating kidney damage are not exotic or rare. They're familiar, comforting, foods people grew up with. Foods that feel harmless, sometimes even healthy. That false sense of safety is exactly what allows kidney strain to build year after year, unnoticed until lab numbers finally expose the truth. But here's where this message changes direction. Because kidney decline is not just about what you should fear, it's about what you can still control. The kidneys respond powerfully when daily stress is reduced, and small adjustments in food choices can dramatically change how hard they are forced to work. When you understand which foods quietly overload aging kidneys and which ones actually allow them to rest and stabilize, the entire trajectory can shift. So stay with me. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the everyday eating habits that silently push older kidneys toward failure. And more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to protect them, starting with the very next meal. Let's start with the most common habit damaging aging kidneys: eating too much salt. Not occasionally, not on holidays, but every single day, quietly, meal after meal. Most people don't even realize it's happening because salt doesn't feel dangerous. It feels familiar, comforting. It tastes like home. But inside your body, especially after 60, salt doesn't act like seasoning anymore. It acts like pressure. I remember a retired school teacher I spoke with, early 70s, active, never missed a checkup. She told me, "Doctor, I don't eat junk food. I just like my food to have flavor." Her meals weren't fast food, just soup, stews, fish and rice seasoned the way she'd cooked for decades. Yet her kidney numbers kept worsening. The reason wasn't disease, it was chronic salt exposure, forcing her kidneys to work harder every hour of every day. Here's what the science shows. Excess sodium raises blood pressure inside the tiny filtering units of the kidney called glomeruli. Over time, this constant pressure damages them permanently. Studies show that high sodium intake can increase kidney workload by up to 30–40%, accelerating function loss, even in people without diabetes or advanced kidney disease. And once those filters are damaged, they do not regenerate. What makes this especially dangerous for older adults is that taste sensitivity declines with age. You literally need more salt to taste the same flavor you once did. So without realizing it, many seniors double or triple their sodium intake while believing nothing has changed. Meanwhile, the kidneys are never given a break, not during the day, not even at night when repair should happen. And here's the part most people don't connect. Salt doesn't just strain the kidneys directly, it sets the stage for everything that follows. Fluid retention, nighttime urination, swelling fatigue, rising creatinine. Each symptom looks unrelated, but they're all downstream effects of the same silent overload. But understanding salt alone isn't enough, because even people who stop reaching for the salt shaker are often still consuming massive amounts of sodium without knowing it, hidden inside foods that don't even taste salty. And that's where the next problem becomes even more dangerous. If salt was the obvious enemy, this next one is far more deceptive because it hides in plain sight. Many people hear processed foods and immediately think of fast food or snacks, then dismiss the warning. But for older adults, the real danger often comes from foods that seem practical, harmless, even responsible: canned soups, packaged meals, dried fish, preserved meats, and shelf-stable foods meant to save time and effort. I once spoke with a widower in his late 60s who cooked almost every meal at home. No takeout, no soda. He relied on canned beans, canned vegetables, and boxed broths because they were convenient and affordable. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he said. Yet his kidney function declined faster than expected. The issue wasn't how often he ate, it was what he didn't see on the label. Here's the science most people never hear clearly. Processed and preserved foods are loaded with sodium not just for taste, but for shelf life. A single serving of canned soup can contain 700 to 200 milligrams of sodium, often more than half the daily limit recommended for older adults. And that's just one item. When these foods are eaten day after day, sodium intake quietly doubles or triples without ever tasting salty. But sodium isn't the only problem. Many processed foods contain phosphate additives, which are absorbed almost 100% into the bloodstream. Research shows that high phosphate intake accelerates kidney damage and increases cardiovascular risk, especially in seniors. Unlike natural phosphorus in whole foods, these additives bypass the body's normal safeguards, forcing the kidneys to work harder with no warning signs. The most dangerous part: these foods train the body into constant overload. The kidneys never experience a low-stress period. There's no recovery window, no overnight repair. Over months and years, this relentless pressure pushes borderline kidney function into irreversible decline. The solution isn't perfection, it's awareness. Reading labels, choosing low sodium or no salt added versions, rinsing canned foods and limiting preserved items can dramatically reduce kidney stress. Small swaps create big relief. But even if you remove processed foods entirely, there's another common habit quietly pushing aging kidneys past their limit one that many people proudly believe is healthy. And that's where the next issue becomes truly eye-opening. After cutting back on salt and processed foods, many people believe they're finally protecting their kidneys. And that's when the next mistake quietly slips in: eating too much animal protein. Beef, pork, chicken, eggs, even fish. Foods that are widely praised as strong, necessary, and healthy, especially for older adults trying to prevent muscle loss. But what helps muscles does not always help aging kidneys. I remember a man in his early 70s who proudly told me he ate protein at every meal. Eggs for breakfast, chicken at lunch, meat or fish at dinner. "I don't want to get weak," he said. And he was right about one thing: protein matters. But his kidney labs told a different story. His creatinine was slowly climbing, and his doctor couldn't find a clear cause. The problem wasn't disease, it was overload. Here's what happens inside the body. Animal protein breaks down into nitrogen-based waste products like urea and creatinine. These wastes must be filtered out by the kidneys. In younger adults, that extra workload can be handled, but after 60, kidney filtration naturally declines. Studies show that high animal protein diets can increase kidney filtration pressure by up to 50%, accelerating damage to the remaining healthy filters. Once again, the kidneys don't complain, they compensate until they can't. What makes this issue especially dangerous is that protein damage feels productive. You feel full, you feel strong, blood sugar may even look stable, but inside the kidneys are running nonstop day and night with no recovery phase. Over time, this constant strain speeds up the path toward chronic kidney disease, even in people who never considered themselves at risk. The solution is not cutting protein to zero, it's balance and timing. Reducing portion sizes, spacing protein intake, favoring plant-based sources more often, and avoiding heavy protein at night can dramatically lower kidney stress while still preserving strength. And here's the critical connection. Many people who reduce meat simply replace it with foods they believe are safer, especially fruits and vegetables. But there's one mineral hiding in some of those foods that can be just as dangerous for weak kidneys when consumed in excess. And that brings us to the next factor, one almost no one talks about yet. It can trigger serious complications if you don't know it's there. After hearing warnings about salt and animal protein, many people make what feels like the smartest move possible. They turn to fruits and vegetables. More bananas, more oranges, more smoothies, more clean eating. It sounds like the right decision, and for many organs it is. But for aging kidneys, especially weakened ones, this well-intended shift can quietly become dangerous because of one mineral most people never think about: potassium. I once met a woman in her late 60s who proudly replaced meat with fruit bowls and green juices. She felt lighter, healthier, more disciplined. Then one afternoon, she experienced sudden weakness, heart palpitations, and dizziness. In the emergency room, doctors found her potassium level was dangerously high. She was shocked. But these are healthy foods, she kept saying. And she wasn't wrong, just uninformed. Here's the science most people aren't told clearly. Potassium helps regulate heart rhythm and muscle function, but excess potassium must be removed by the kidneys. When kidney function declines even slightly, potassium can build up in the blood. Research shows that people with reduced kidney filtration are significantly more likely to develop hyperkalemia, a condition that can trigger irregular heartbeats, fainting, and in severe cases, sudden cardiac events. Foods like bananas, oranges, avocados, potatoes, tomatoes, and many leafy greens are among the highest sources. What makes this especially dangerous is that high potassium doesn't always cause early symptoms. You don't feel it rising. There's no warning pain. It accumulates quietly until one day the heart reacts. And unlike salt or protein, overload potassium issues can escalate quickly, turning a healthy habit into an emergency. The solution is not avoiding fruits and vegetables entirely. It's choosing wisely and managing portions. Lower potassium options, proper preparation methods like soaking and boiling, spacing intake throughout the day, and matching choices to individual kidney function can dramatically reduce risk. Knowledge, not fear, is what keeps people safe. And here's the key transition. Many people who cut back on high potassium foods then look for comfort elsewhere, turning to fried foods, reheated leftovers, or greasy meals that feel easy and satisfying. But those choices introduce a different kind of damage, one that silently inflames and clogs the system in ways most people underestimate. Because potassium isn't the last hidden threat, there's another category of food that ages kidneys even faster, and it often shows up at the end of the day. After people start cutting back on salt, processed foods, heavy meat, and high potassium produce, many fall into another trap, one that feels harmless, comforting, even economical. Fried foods, oily meals, and reheated leftovers. They're easy. They taste good. And for many older adults, they feel familiar. But for aging kidneys, especially those already under stress, these foods quietly create a perfect storm. I once spoke with a man in his early 70s who lived alone and hated wasting food. He would cook once, then reheat the same meal for 2 or 3 days. Often fried fish, stir-fried meat, or leftovers warmed late in the evening. It saves money, he told me. But his labs told another story. Rising inflammation markers, worsening creatinine, constant fatigue. The food wasn't spoiled, but it wasn't kind to his kidneys either. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. Fried and oily foods trigger systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. Studies show that diets high in fried foods increase inflammatory markers like CRP and promote vascular stiffness, reducing blood flow to the kidneys. When kidney circulation drops, filtration efficiency falls with it. On top of that, reheated oils, especially vegetable oils, break down into toxic compounds that place additional detox burden on the liver and kidneys. Leftovers add another hidden layer of risk. As food sits, especially protein-rich dishes, nitrogenous waste compounds increase. Reheating doesn't remove them, it concentrates them. For younger bodies, this may not matter much, but aging kidneys already operate with reduced reserve. Research suggests that repeated exposure to oxidized fats and reheated proteins accelerates kidney aging and worsens nighttime symptoms like swelling and frequent urination. Timing makes this even worse. Many people eat these meals at night, right when kidneys should be resting and repairing. Instead of recovery, the kidneys are forced into overtime filtering fats, toxins, and metabolic waste while you sleep. Over months and years, that pattern quietly pushes kidneys closer to failure. The solution isn't giving up comfort entirely. It's changing how comfort looks. Choosing lighter cooking methods, using fresh oils, sparingly eating freshly prepared meals earlier in the day, and minimizing leftovers can dramatically reduce kidney stress. But here's the turning point. Avoiding harmful foods is only half the equation. What truly changes kidney outcomes is knowing exactly how to protect them daily, intentionally, and sustainably. And that's where the next part becomes the most important of all. At this point, many people feel overwhelmed. Salt-processed foods, protein, potassium, fried meals, everything seems dangerous. And that's usually when someone says, "So what am I supposed to eat?" This is where the conversation needs to shift, because protecting aging kidneys isn't about fear or restriction. It's about reducing daily strain so the kidneys can finally do what they were designed to do: recover. I remember a couple in their early 70s who came to me frustrated. They had tried cutting foods randomly one week, no meat the next week, no fruit yet. Nothing felt sustainable. The breakthrough came when they stopped chasing rules and started following principles. Within months, their labs stabilized, energy improved, and nighttime bathroom trips dropped. Nothing extreme changed. The stress load simply came down. Here's what science consistently shows. Kidneys decline fastest under constant pressure, high blood pressure, inflammation, metabolic waste, and poor circulation. But when those pressures are reduced, even aging kidneys can stabilize. Studies indicate that lowering dietary sodium-spreading protein intake, evenly eating earlier in the day, and improving hydration patterns can slow kidney decline by 20–30% in older adults. That's not a supplement, that's physiology. Protection starts with rhythm. Eating lighter in the evening gives kidneys a rest window at night. Drinking fluids earlier rather than late reduces nocturnal strain. Cooking, simply boiling, steaming, baking lowers inflammatory load. And choosing fresh foods over packaged ones removes hidden stressors you don't feel until it's too late. But mindset matters just as much as food. Many seniors unknowingly treat kidneys like an unlimited resource. In reality, kidneys are more like a savings account. You don't feel the loss until it's nearly empty. Protecting them means spending carefully every day, not panicking when the balance is low. The most powerful shift happens when people stop reacting to lab numbers and start designing daily habits that keep those numbers stable. That's when fatigue lifts, swelling eases, sleep improves, and fear fades. Protection becomes routine, not effort. But even with the right habits, one question still remains, and it's the one people ask most often. If avoiding damage is step one, what exactly should you eat to actively support kidney health? Because the final piece isn't just about prevention, it's about nourishment that helps the kidneys function better over time. Once people understand what harms the kidneys, the next question comes fast and almost urgently. So what can I actually eat without fear? This is where clarity matters most, because kidney-friendly eating is not about bland food or constant restriction. It's about choosing foods that reduce waste, calm inflammation, and support steady blood flow so the kidneys can work efficiently instead of desperately. I think of a man in his late 60s who once told me, "Doctor, I just want to eat without worrying every time." We simplified his approach. Instead of chasing superfoods or cutting entire food groups, he focused on meals that felt light but nourishing. Within weeks, his energy improved. Within months, his kidney numbers stopped climbing. The change wasn't dramatic, it was consistent. Here's what research shows. Diets centered around low-sodium, low-inflammatory, fiber-rich foods reduce metabolic waste and improve gut health, which directly lowers kidney workload. Fiber helps the body eliminate toxins through the intestines instead of forcing the kidneys to do all the work. Studies link higher fiber intake with lower creatinine levels and slower progression of kidney disease in older adults. Kidney-supportive foods tend to share common traits. They're fresh, minimally processed, and gentle to digest. Think cooked vegetables with lower potassium content, berries instead of tropical fruits. Healthy fats like olive oil in small amounts, and plant-based proteins used more often than meat. Whole grains in modest portions, egg whites instead of whole eggs, and simple soups made from scratch all reduce strain without sacrificing satisfaction. Timing matters just as much as food choice. Eating earlier, keeping dinner light, and spacing meals evenly throughout the day gives kidneys predictable rhythms. Hydration helps too, but taken steadily, not flooded late at night. These patterns allow the kidneys to filter calmly instead of reacting to constant spikes. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for a perfect plan. Kidney health improves with daily decisions, not sudden overhauls. When the kidneys feel supported instead of push, symptoms stabilize and confidence returns. And now everything comes together. You've seen what silently damages the kidneys, and you've learned what protects and nourishes them. But there's one final step often overlooked that determines whether all this knowledge actually changes your future. And that's where the conclusion becomes the most important part of all. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Your kidneys are not failing you. You may simply have been unknowingly overloading them for years. And that's not something to feel guilty about. Most people were never taught how to protect their kidneys as they age. The good news is awareness creates power, and power creates choice. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need extreme diets or fear every bite of food. What truly matters is consistency, choosing meals that reduce strain instead of adding pressure, giving your kidneys time to rest, and respecting the fact that after 60, your body works differently than it once did. Small daily decisions repeated over time can slow decline, stabilize lab numbers, and dramatically improve how you feel day to day. If you're watching this and thinking, I wish I had known this earlier, remember this today is still early enough to make a difference. Many people are told about kidney problems only when options are limited. You're here now learning before that moment arrives, and that matters more than you realize. If this information helped you, please save this video so you can come back to it when you plan meals or need a reminder. And consider subscribing to the channel because we regularly share clear, practical medical insights focused on kidney health, aging safely, and protecting your quality of life without fear-based messaging or confusing jargon. I also encourage you to share this video with someone you care about. Kidney damage is often silent, but knowledge spreads loudly, and it can protect families, not just individuals. Remember, kidney health is not about perfection. It's about awareness, balance, and compassion toward your own body. When you support your kidneys, you support your energy, your sleep, your heart, and your future. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.